Throughout this past year that Volleyball Legends has been out for, we have lost many soldiers day by day, either due to boredom, disinterest, or passion towards other games. But how many of those players do you think have quit solely based off of the amount of rage bait that they have endured? To be safe, let's just say a whole lot. And especially now that a new community has emerged named the Black Pill community, a lot of people are more inclined to stop anything that causes even the slightest increase in cortisol, which if you guys don't know is the body's main stress hormone. Yeah, don't ask me why this is a trend, man, because I have no idea. Either way, today I have decided to brutally rank every Volleyball Legends style that range from secret to ultra rarity, in order to determine which one of them is the most annoying to play against. I'm sure you already have a couple in mind, and trust me, I do too. So without further ado, let's take a look at the ranking for each individual card, starting with Kiseki. Alongside Sanu, Kiseki has been one of only 2 styles which have been in the game since the dawn of secrets, and he has yet to move up in the rankings. You know this style is mid when they don't even make the top 5 of a list where skills aren't even in the equation. And calling it mid is low-key a compliment because I have never heard a soul say, "Bro, roll for Kiseki, he's a top 5 card."
Heck, even top 10.
When I see this guy on the other team, my brain genuinely processes it as a regular card. And I promise I'm not trying to downplay him, but when your ability only consists of defensive skills, there really isn't much to be intimidated about. And because of that, being aggravated is an almost impossible task to accomplish. Therefore, he rightfully takes last place on my list. I'm gonna give you guys a brief description of what Yogon specializes in. Yeah, I don't know, bro. This style technically does everything, but I see him more as a jack of all trades, master of none type of style. Because yes, when fully charged up, has the craziest stats out of any card, but that is literally it. No crazy abilities, just maxed out everything. I'm not saying he's a bad card, but he's definitely not someone you would pick if given the opportunity to choose any style in the game. And since there is nothing special going on with him, it makes it pretty simple to play against when compared to other more complex characters like Jinko or the twins. But even with me saying all this, I still got him over Kiseki any day. Identified as the flying secret, Kazuna is a spiker with the highest jump in Volleyball Legends, capable of reaching balls from the heavens themselves. But the reason this style is rated so low when it comes to being able to successfully rage bait an individual is because there is a very few amount of players who have fully mastered him. Therefore, the Kazunas I'm specifically referring to are the ones who every once in a while make contact with a high ball and score. But when they aren't able to connect, it makes them a very anticlimactic style to verse. If Kazuna was easier to maneuver, then I can definitely see him placing anywhere near the top 5, but since the time it takes to master him is much longer than most other styles, it makes it very logical to place him this low on the list. I actually think it might be more annoying for anyone teamed up with him, because you have a much lower chance to spike a ball since this guy's able to reach it in a lower amount of time. But I am solely basing this list on going against them. So because of that, he takes the 13th spot. Since Taicho and Timeskip Kageyama are both setters who both have an ability that directly affects their sets, there isn't too much of a difference when going up against them. You can definitely make the argument that TSK is more annoying since their spiker can afford to miss their hit and still spike it again before letting the ball touch the ground. Or that Taicho takes the cake, due to his power increase that makes it harder to time your defensive controls. But regardless of which one you pick, there isn't a crazy difference between them, since they both have their own unique advantages that can most definitely aggravate you after a while. I will admit there might be a bit of bias when discussing the style of Sanu, since he is my favorite card, but I think I got him in a solid spot nevertheless. The things that make him irritating to go against are his tilts, most importantly back and side tilts. Like, you think you got a player unlocked when observing the placement of his spike, but then you peep the name on the top of his head and realize he's most likely gonna put the ball over and above your head. It's crazy how this game works, because when I position myself in center field and am completely ready to receive a spike, my hitbox still fails to make connection with the ball that this style spikes. And when you see that the spike barely made it through the legal requirement required to count a hit as a point, it makes you question if the joy of playing this game is even worth the agony you experience. But some people also view Sanu's spikes as purely skill based, which sways the emotions from annoyance to acceptance. Let me know what you guys think though. We can all agree that the more power a spike has behind it, the harder it becomes to retrieve said spike. And the two styles which push the limits of this ability are Hidari and Time Skip Hinto. Although the way for which they arrive at max power differs, the outcome still remains the same. And personally, I would rather face an opponent who abuses tilts than a shift lock demon, like TSH and Hidari users. It's just so triggering having to guess where the opponent will spike to prior to them shift locking, because not only do you get no time to react to their player's view direction, they also shoot a bullet directly at you milliseconds after that. There's not much you can do about that. I have chosen these players partly due to the lack of matchups I had against them and my inability to play against styles who are able to manipulate space itself by straight up vanishing and reappearing in front of my face, scoring in the process. And yes, I'm talking about Haka and Akari. For the 6th and 7th spot, I had a bit of trouble deciding between these two, which coincidentally both fall under the ultra rarity. But I believe Haka is an easier card to go against since he is only able to teleport when setting, while Akari can do it at any given moment. And the clips I have seen with her are mind-boggling. There are people who have added magnetic pull into the mix, and it makes me genuinely want to cry for their opponent. Because what do you mean the ball is sticking to her like glue? The magnet cannot be that strong, bro. Thankfully, I have yet to be a victim of set tactics, but the moment my time comes, you guys might not hear from me for a while. And I haven't even mentioned mastery yet. Once you unlock both of their full potential, you don't just get one, but 2 dashes per cooldown. So if your enemy is Albert Einstein and has somehow managed to read your first self set, a second set will definitely tear every neuron in his brain to bits. Finally breaking into the top 5, these upcoming characters have terrorized the courts of volleyball for as long as they have been in the game. You can almost describe these actions as crime scenes based on the severity of their cases. So viewer discretion is highly advised. Okazu, or Time Skip Okazu to be specific, is the only style capable of paralyzing an opponent from the sheer touch of his serve. This ability isn't just annoying, but also match decisive. Being that it isn't much of a challenge to successfully time a rainbow serve, many points can be accumulated through this action, specifically in the 2v2 game mode, since it has the highest impact compared to any other. And if he decides to target the setter in your team, the whole play immediately crumbles due to the absence of his brain. So there's not much that can be done other than to wait for his reign of terror to subside. I would describe his serve as being tackled by a football player going 50 miles per hour, which should help put into perspective just how dangerous it can be. But aside from that ability, he's actually a very average character. As long as you're able to survive those missile-like serves by simply returning them, you shouldn't have too much of a problem going up against Okazu, because without Rainbow Serve, he's almost identical to his godly counterpart. Just like Time Skip Okazu, the danger of the twins lies in their serve. Curve in sports is often unpredictable since we have zero control over something once it leaves our touch. That is why their serve is one of the most despised mechanics. When you think the ball will reach you, it curves back. And when it looks like it will curve back, it doesn't. Hence the backlash it receives. And it only makes it more difficult to predict if their user decides it's time to climb the balcony of doom and despair. Once someone heads their way up, you know there will either be an epic fail or a perfect execution. And with most of the twin users I have faced, it tends to be the latter. With a team of 3 or 4, receiving such serve is quite simple if everyone covers a specific spot on the court. But for someone to retrieve it, being that they are the only member of their team, is a near impossible action due to the hitboxes in this game. Although serving is this style's specialty, Okaru, who is the offensive half of the two, is still a character worth acknowledging due to his max jump and spike. So all in all, there really is no weakness to the style besides the master behind him not being competent enough to utilize him. Jinko without a doubt is a complete and utter menace to society. Like previously stated, curve in sports can prove to be extremely dangerous, and Jinko not only manipulates serves, but also spikes, which can become insanely overpowered. especially if a player is successfully able to hit a ball at the perfect time for that boomerang effect we've all seen on TikTok. And at that point, you really ought to just get on your knees and pray that the curve on the ball is strong enough to make it go past your side. But sadly, this isn't the only challenge you'll face when encountering it. Since advanced controls allows us to adjust our spike's power, lowering it all the way can help secure you points because a player that reacts at a reasonable time for the average hit won't be able to get this one, being that its spike power was lowered all the way. Envision a scene in which you are on the defensive, and Jinko is about to spike a ball. But right when he does, you notice that the ball is moving much lower than usual, along with a bit of curve added as well. And by the time you comprehend the play, it is already too late since your set receipt bind was already activated a long time ago. I'm sorry if that scenario gave you guys PTSD, but I had to give reasoning as to why this card is where it is on the list. I never would have thought that setter dumps would be added to Volleyball Legends, but here we are today with one of the most annoying styles to ever come from this game. His set dump happens very quickly, reaching the ground in a very small fragment of time. And if you decide that setting the ball will turn out to be the best option, that's totally okay because he has a time skip Kageyama-like set that remains in the air for a noticeable amount of time. Yes, you heard that right. A TSK serve plus a setter dump. As if he wasn't overpowered enough. When this character first released, I vividly remember encountering him in a 1v1, and every single time without fail, all of Fakeo users did nothing but set dumps, which at first were very unpredictable, but once you see an outcome happen countless amount of times consecutively, predicting their play starts to feel more like a routine. If you encounter a smart player that doesn't only dump balls every chance he gets, you will likely have a very difficult time predicting whether a dump or a set is coming, and or possibly even a spike. And the fact that he has no cooldown whatsoever makes him that much more of a danger on the court, since anything can happen at any given moment. So I advise everyone facing a Fakeo to keep their guard up throughout the full match. I'm sure all of you guys saw this one coming. Mikag is unarguably the style that has caused the most crash outs throughout the history of Volleyball Legends, and I don't think it's even close. Those damn ghost arms of his really earned their paranormal status because what do you mean a spike that is a whole foot above his head gets casually clamped and set back to your side? And to top it off, the game developers decided that it would be a good idea to make his back tilt block just as effective, if not more. If you decide to jump for defense purposes, I'm afraid you have committed one of the worst mistakes when facing Mikag, because you are soon about to find out what that back tilt can do, which is not something you want to be a part of. Thankfully though, he does have a cooldown, but it won't take long until his ability gets fully replenished, since bumping, setting, and diving are all mechanics that add to his charge bar. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, you get 3 ghost arm blocks per full bar. I wish I was joking, man. I'm very interested to see what a Mikag block hitbox looks like, because if it isn't something like what I have on screen right here, I just won't believe it. I would love to give you guys some precautions, but I really don't know what you can do to prepare yourself for the tormentation this guy is destined to put you through. Just relax and don't make eye contact, okay? Hey, as we can clearly see, some styles cause more gray hairs than others and become a pain in the butt to go against, but take into account that you too are capable of using those same players. So if you can't seem to find a way out from being in the presence of set cards, there is always the option of fighting fire with fire. Although I'm not proud to admit, I have sadly fallen victim to the Mikag propaganda and find myself using him a great deal. But never in your life will you catch me in a 1v1 with him unless I'm making a video strictly for educational purposes only. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and let me know what other content you would like to see on this channel by typing in the comments down below. And as always, I will see you guys next time. Peace.